stop growing tomatoes. I know it sounds radical. Tomatoes are everywhere. Everyone grows them. They feel safe, familiar, and productive. But here's the hard truth most gardeners never hear. Tomatoes are one of the least profitable crops you can grow when you measure space, time, and effort honestly. They demand constant attention, regular watering, pruning, staking, pest control, and non-stop disease management. And when harvest finally arrives, the market is already saturated. Everyone has tomatoes, prices drop fast, and all that work barely pays back what you put in. Now imagine this instead. What if there were plants that generate 10, 20, even 50 times more income per square foot than tomatoes? Crops that require less space, less daily care, and often sell out the moment they're available. Today, I'm going to show you 7 plants that smart growers are quietly switching to. Plants that can turn small gardens into serious income generators. And once you understand the economics behind them, you'll never see tomatoes the same way again. 1. Ginseng. Ginseng grows slowly, and that slowness is exactly why it's so valuable. While tomatoes rush to maturity, flood the market, and lose value overnight, ginseng follows the opposite path. It develops underground for years, quietly increasing in worth with every season it stays in the soil. Wild simulated ginseng, grown in natural forest environments, can sell for hundreds of dollars per pound. Fully mature roots command premium prices from herbal medicine companies, supplement producers, traditional healing markets, and international buyers. Ginseng doesn't compete in the food market. It competes in the rarity market. The older, knottier, and more natural the root looks, the higher the price climbs. Some individual roots become more valuable after a decade than tomatoes will ever be over an entire lifetime of growing. Another powerful advantage is location. Ginseng thrives in shade. That makes it perfect for forest gardens, woodland edges, or neglected land where tomatoes would never survive. Space that produces nothing suddenly becomes extremely valuable. Once established, ginseng requires almost no ongoing labor. There's no daily watering schedule, no pruning, no seasonal harvesting. The soil stays undisturbed for years while the plant slowly matures underground, increasing in value without constant effort. This isn't a crop for impatient growers. But for those who think long-term, ginseng delivers returns tomatoes simply can't compete with. A single mature ginseng bed can outperform decades of tomato harvests in both profit and workload, and demand continues to rise worldwide. As wild ginseng becomes scarcer and global interest in natural medicine keeps growing, prices remain strong and resilient. That makes ginseng more than a crop. It's a long-term investment quietly growing beneath your feet. 2. Microgreens. If tomatoes are slow, space-intensive, and tied to short seasons, microgreens are the exact opposite. Lightning fast, compact, and endlessly repeatable. Microgreens grow at an incredible pace. Many varieties are ready to cut in as little as 7 to 14 days, sometimes even faster. That means you're not waiting months to see results. You can harvest, reseed, and harvest again multiple times every month, creating a steady, predictable flow of income. Space is no longer a limitation. Microgreens thrive indoors, on shelves, countertops, grow racks, spare rooms, garages, or even small apartments. You don't need land, a yard, or direct sunlight. All it takes is trays, a growing medium, and basic grow lights. That's why microgreens are one of the few crops perfectly suited for urban living. Where microgreens truly dominate is demand. Restaurants, cafes, health-focused consumers, and specialty grocery stores willingly pay premium prices for fresh, locally grown greens. Chefs value consistency, intense flavor, and peak freshness. And microgreens deliver all three. Because they're harvested young, they're dense in nutrients and bold in taste, making them a staple in high-end kitchens. Here's the financial reality most people overlook. A single tray of microgreens can generate more income than an entire tomato plant produces over its full lifespan. And unlike tomatoes, there's no long wait, no pest battles, and no losses from unpredictable weather. Microgreens remove many of farming's biggest risks. There are no outdoor pests, no storms, no droughts, and no surprise frosts. Everything is controlled. Temperature, light, moisture, and harvest timing. That level of control leads to consistent yields and minimal waste. Successful growers sell directly to chefs, farmers markets, and subscription customers. Because microgreens are highly perishable, buyers return every week. This creates recurring revenue instead of one-time sales. Tomatoes give you a short seasonal window. Microgreens generate cash flow all year long. 3. Mushrooms. Mushrooms don't simply outperform tomatoes. They completely change how farming works. Unlike traditional crops, mushrooms don't require sunlight. They don't grow in soil. They aren't tied to seasons or outdoor weather. They grow indoors, vertically, and year-round, transforming basements, garages, sheds, and spare rooms into highly productive growing spaces. That alone gives mushrooms a massive edge over tomatoes. Varieties like oyster mushrooms, lion's mane, and shiitake sell for premium prices, especially to restaurants, farmers markets, and health-conscious buyers. Many of these are considered both gourmet foods and medicinal superfoods, which significantly boosts their market value. Their production cycles are remarkably short. Some mushroom varieties can be harvested just weeks after inoculation. That means fast returns and multiple harvest cycles per year, not a single seasonal payoff like tomatoes. The yield-to-space ratio is where mushrooms truly shine. Because they grow vertically on shelves or hanging grow bags, a single small room can outperform an entire outdoor tomato garden in both output and profit. Few crops come close to matching that efficiency. Competition is another hidden advantage. Tomatoes are grown by millions of people worldwide. Specialty mushrooms are still a niche market. Fewer growers means higher demand, better pricing, and more opportunity for small producers. Mushroom cultivation rewards precision rather than non-stop labor. Once you understand humidity, airflow, temperature, and cleanliness, the process becomes highly repeatable. After the initial setup, daily maintenance is minimal, and production becomes predictable and scalable. Mushrooms turn farming from a gamble into a controlled system. And that's why they consistently outperform tomatoes in both profitability and reliability. 4. Medicinal herbs. Tomatoes satisfy hunger for a moment. Medicinal herbs support health, recovery, and long-term well-being. And that single difference completely transforms their value. Plants such as echinacea, valerian, skullcap, ashwagandha, lemon balm, and many others can be sold in multiple high-priced forms. They aren't limited to one product. Herbs can be dried whole, ground into powders, extracted into tinctures, packed into capsules, brewed into teas, or blended into specialized herbal formulas. Each processing step increases shelf life, flexibility, and profit potential. From a growing perspective, medicinal herbs are remarkably efficient. Most require far less water than vegetables, demand minimal nutrients, and often thrive in poor or marginal soils where tomatoes struggle or fail entirely. Many medicinal herbs are perennial, meaning you plant once and continue harvesting for years without replanting. That alone dramatically reduces labor and ongoing costs. The global herbal medicine and wellness industry continues to expand as more people turn toward natural approaches for health maintenance and prevention. This creates steady, long-term demand for high-quality, locally grown herbs. Small growers are especially well-positioned to supply herbalists, apothecaries, wellness brands, farmers markets, and online customers who value freshness and traceability. Medicinal herbs also solve one of farming's biggest problems: spoilage. When properly dried and stored, herbs maintain their value for months or even years. They don't need refrigeration. There's no rush to sell. Compare that to tomatoes, which begin losing value the moment they leave the vine. On a per-pound basis, medicinal herbs often sell for many times the price of tomatoes, especially when transformed into finished products. They require less space, less water, and far less urgency, while offering far greater flexibility in how and when they're sold. Medicinal herbs reward growers who think beyond calories and understand that true profit comes from long-term value, not short-lived harvests. 5. Wasabi and high-value wasabi alternatives. True wasabi is one of the most exclusive and valuable crops in the culinary world, and its scarcity is exactly what drives its profitability. Authentic wasabi, Wasabia japonica, is famously difficult to cultivate. It requires cool temperatures, constant moisture, pristine water quality, or perfectly controlled humidity and protection from direct sunlight. These precise conditions severely limit where it can be grown, keeping global supply extremely low and prices exceptionally high. That challenge explains why almost all wasabi served around the world isn't real. Most of it is simply horseradish blended with mustard, starch, and green coloring. Genuine wasabi delivers a completely different experience. Fresh, aromatic, complex, and delicate. Chefs who care about quality know this, and those chefs are actively searching for reliable sources of the real product. This massive gap between demand and availability creates a rare opportunity for small, specialized growers. Even growers who never produce full-sized wasabi rhizomes can still profit. Wasabi starts, seedlings, and young plants are in constant demand from restaurants, specialty farms, and serious hobby growers. Because authentic wasabi takes time to mature, buyers are often willing to pay premium prices simply to secure trustworthy planting stock. For growers who prefer a less demanding path, wasabi-adjacent crops, such as premium horseradish varieties, can be sold into similar markets. When grown carefully and marketed transparently, these alternatives still command strong prices, especially when sold fresh to restaurants seeking more authentic flavor than powdered substitutes can offer. Wasabi is also exceptionally space efficient. It doesn't require large fields or traditional farmland. It can be grown in shade structures, greenhouses, controlled environments, or specialized indoor systems. That makes it one of the highest value per square foot crops available to small-scale producers. The learning curve is steep, but so is the payoff. Very few growers are willing to invest the time, experimentation, and precision required to master wasabi cultivation. Those who do face minimal competition and gain access to elite markets where quality matters far more than price. Wasabi isn't a beginner's crop, but for growers willing to specialize, it represents rarity, exclusivity, and extraordinary profit potential in a world flooded with low-value produce. 6. Saffron crocus. If there is one plant that completely outperforms tomatoes in profitability, efficiency, and long-term return, it's saffron. No common garden crop even comes close when you compare earnings per square foot. Saffron is the most valuable spice in the world. Measured by weight, it often sells for more than precious metals. A single pound of high-grade saffron can be worth thousands of dollars, and it doesn't require rare equipment or exotic conditions. It comes from a modest purple flower that can be grown quietly in an ordinary garden. Saffron is produced from the flower Crocus sativus, which blooms in autumn, long after most vegetable gardens have shut down for the season. Each bloom produces only 3 fine red threads, which become saffron once dried. That low yield might seem inefficient at first, but it's precisely what protects saffron's value. It cannot be industrialized easily, and that keeps prices consistently high. What many people don't realize is that saffron grows from underground corms that multiply year after year. You plant them once, and instead of declining like annual crops, production increases naturally over time. One corm becomes several, expanding your harvest every season without additional planting costs. Saffron prefers full sun and sharply draining soil. It doesn't want rich compost or heavy fertilization. In fact, excessive care often reduces yields. There's no staking, no pruning, no spraying, and no daily watering. Once established, saffron thrives when left alone, something tomato growers rarely experience. Even a small raised bed or compact garden space can hold hundreds of saffron corms. During the brief flowering period, harvesting takes only minutes per day. Flowers are picked, the red threads are removed, and then dried. The process is simple and low stress. Once properly dried and stored, saffron keeps its value for years. There's no pressure to sell immediately, no spoilage, and no panic when markets are oversupplied. Compare that to tomatoes, which begin losing value almost the moment they're harvested. Many small growers earn more from a few square meters of saffron than from entire tomato plots that demand months of labor. Saffron rewards patience, minimal effort, and intelligent planning, not constant attention. 7. Lavender doesn't need aggressive marketing. It sells itself. This plant is exceptionally drought-tolerant, long-lived, and perfectly suited to poor, rocky, or sandy soils where tomatoes struggle or fail. Once established, lavender requires minimal watering, almost no fertilization, and very little ongoing care. It thrives on conditions that defeat most vegetables. Lavender's true strength lies in its versatility. Unlike tomatoes, which can only be sold fresh and spoil quickly, lavender can be transformed into a wide range of high-value products. Fresh bouquets, dried flowers, essential oils, sachets, soaps, teas, candles, cosmetics, and herbal preparations can all come from the same planting. One lavender plant doesn't produce a single product. It generates multiple income streams. Lavender is also visually striking. Fields of purple attract visitors, photographers, and tourists. Many small farms earn substantial income simply by offering walkthroughs, photo sessions, or seasonal events. Lavender turns a growing space into an experience, combining agriculture, branding, and agritourism. Storage is another major advantage. Dried lavender can be stored for years without losing quality or value. There's no urgency to sell, no waste, and no stress when prices fluctuate. Tomatoes, by comparison, demand immediate sale before they spoil. A relatively small lavender planting can outperform large tomato rows in both a profit and effort. Fewer inputs, less labor, longer shelf life, and more selling options. All from a plant that thrives where others struggle. Lavender rewards growers who think creatively, diversify their offerings, and understand that true profit comes from value, not sheer volume.